Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Coming up with the launch of Season 4 Reloaded here on Wednesday, we are going to see our next major weapon update slash our next major meta update within Warzone. We are going to see the introduction of a couple of new weapons, really one that is actually going to be viable and probably in the meta conversations, alongside some new aftermarket parts throughout the remainder of the season, and of course some standard weapon balancing and other weapon adjustments, some of which have already been confirmed. And today I wanted to go through and break down everything to expect from this weapon update, everything we have confirmed as of now. So let's start first up with our new weapons coming with this patch. We've actually got two, as mentioned. The first one is known as the Reclaimer 18. This is going to be a new shotgun, maybe new for some of you, but also very familiar for several of you as well, because this is essentially the Spaz 12. They just aren't calling it the Spaz 12, of course, but here is the rundown for this. It's actually a super unique shotgun in comparison to pretty much all of the others that we currently have within Warzone between Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3. So they describe it as a tactical shotgun that can be fired in both pump action and semi-auto modes. That in and of itself makes it incredibly unique and also pretty fun, because you're going to be able to have certain builds that thrive for semi-auto and certain builds that thrive for pump action. So depending on which play style you maybe like more, or just straight up depending on which one is more competitive across the board in terms of damage and TTK, you can sort of cater to that play style. They say pump action provides superior range, while semi-auto increases fire rate, so you can kind of build it out both ways as mentioned. Supporting two firing modes, the Reclaimer 18 gives operators the ability to customize their shotgun experience with the flip of a switch. For precision fights, use pump action to eliminate enemies from further out. When you need to clear out a group, switch to semi-auto and let loose in close quarters. Further customize the weapon with incendiary, dragon's breath, or slug ammunition, plus barrel attachments providing extended range, enhanced recoil control, or speedier handling. So yes, this is going to have fire rounds. With dragon's breath, you'll also be able to build out slugs. We've seen more slug builds as of late, with shotguns being maybe a little bit more competitive. So I do think there's going to be several viable options and viable ways to build this thing out. And of course, it's a new weapon. It's going to be available in the battle pass, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. So would not be surprised whatsoever if this was in the close range meta conversations. They do say the Reclaimer 18 introduces the new bugged out He's Looking At You, Azure Refract, and Donut Worry weapon camos, accessible by completing the in-game challenges for it. And it's going to be available via a new sector in the Season 4 Battle Pass. So we'll have like a classified sector, declassified. It'll probably require us to go through, complete 4 or 5 specific challenges, probably shotgun related, and then you'll have full access to this and you can customize it as needed and as you want for your playstyle. So that's going to be definitely the more sought after, more realistic competitive option from the Season 4 Reloaded weapons update. Hey everyone, just a heads up, today's video is sponsored by Thrustmaster and their new eSwap X2 controller. You may notice some new overlays and some new logos in some of my gameplay videos, because this is what I've been using for the past couple of weeks, and I gotta say, it is awesome. The eSwap X2 is by far one of the most optimized and customizable controllers I've used, and the best part is that it's an easy fit with any playstyle imaginable. They've got a hot swap technology with this controller that allows you to change the layout on the fly, so you can swap out the thumbsticks, whether you want concave or domed. You could also change the placement of the D-pad and the thumbsticks respectively. All the onboard buttons are tactical switch buttons, basically the equivalent of a mouse click, which means that it has an ultra fast response time for all your in-game inputs. And the next gen mini sticks make your movements incredibly precise. You can even switch out the colors of all the controller components, like the trigger, the thumbsticks, the D-pad, you name it, which just gives it another level of personality. And aside from all the onboard customization, there's also the Thrustmapper X software downloadable on Microsoft apps, and this allows you to fine-tune everything you need in game, including your back buttons and what you want them to actually program to, your trigger sensitivity, the response curve of your thumbsticks, and even more. And I am currently giving away one of the eSwap X2 controllers over on my Twitter or X, so if you want to enter to win, check out the link down in the description below. Once again, huge thank you to Thrustmaster for sponsoring today's video. But then in addition to that, we also have the Sledgehammer melee weapon coming as well. Now obviously this one is just a melee weapon at the end of the day, so not really all that competitive, not really all that serious. It's going to be fun to mess around with if you're looking for that kind of, break from the sweatiness of SBMM and meta chasing. They say smash the competition into the dirt with this sledgehammer melee weapon, bash the competition with this melee slugger supporting a 20-pound carbon steel head with an assortment of moves including swings, an overhead attack, and a pull butt. Inspect the weapon in game for a closer look at its lethal properties, then get back to clobbering, and this will be available via weekly challenges. So one of the weekly challenges in the next few weeks, it could be the one dropping this Wednesday, it could be some of the coming weeks, will allow us to unlock this. However, that's not all for this weapon in this meta update coming with Season 4 Reloaded. As we jump into some more details on weapon balancing and some aftermarket parts, quick reminder, if you are new to the channel or maybe you have not subscribed yet, let's change that. Every single day, I got you covered with all of the need-to-know info for Call of Duty, whether it's patch notes, meta breakdowns, everything like that is right here. So feel free to hit that sub button. And if you enjoyed this video, a like rating is always really appreciated. Now, of course, we just talked about weekly challenges with the sledgehammer. We know there's 4 weeks left in this season, and as of right now, we only have 2 aftermarket parts detailed. Now, this would now, with the information of the sledgehammer, fill out the remainder of the season if we're going off of history here. So 1 week being the sledgehammer, another week being an aftermarket part, a second week being an aftermarket part, and then the final week being a blueprint reward, rounding out the 8 weeks total for Season 4. Now, as for those 2 new aftermarket parts, we've actually already got them detailed, one of which is going to be for an MW2 gun, the other for an MW3 gun. So in no particular release order here because they haven't detailed that yet, we've got the Jack Gunslinger coming up. This is going to be for the Basilisk handgun from MW2. They say this has a frame and a cylinder conversion that allows the revolver to hold 8 rounds of 357 ammo with an exceptional increase to the rate of fire and a near instantaneous trigger action. So this could in theory be a crazy good run and gun pistol option if it allows for akimbo. Maybe we could see the return of like a snake shot meta. Hopefully it's balanced out enough that it's not crazy overpowered or broken or anything, but also competitive enough that it would actually introduce a new weapon into the close range meta. Always, pushing for diversity and more options there. And that's definitely a potential one based off the description. The second new one we have coming could actually also end up being a part of like the mid-range or the long-range meta. It's for the KV inhibitor sniper rifle, and it's known as the Jack Volk. So they say this is a meticulously crafted stock and receiver modification that updates the weapon to fire a 2-round burst at a minimal MOA dispersion, making every trigger pull count. So this is going to be a 2-round burst sniper mod basically for the KV inhibitor. I mean, the damage on the inhibitor is all right. It's just kind of clunky and awkward to use, so it's not really, picked all that much across loadouts. But if this 2-round burst offers decent control and has decent velocity while maintaining that damage, could actually be pretty viable, all things considered. So we'll have to see how this one behaves, but honestly, both of the remaining aftermarket parts here do have some potential pending their full-on stats when they end up dropping. And then to round things out, yes, of course, Season 4 Reloaded is going to include a new meta update and weapon balancing update as well. They have not gone fully in-depth on the specifics here, outside of course, the Kar 98K nerf. Sledgehammer a few days back did end up saying on Reddit that yes, they have Kar 98K adjustments inbound. They have yet to go in depth on these and explain exactly what's going to be changing. Their initial answer was for multiplayer. That's where the changes are going to occur. However, if they're changing the weapon in any fundamental core way, that's also going to impact Warzone. Whereas if they go through and they adjust the velocity or the damage range, that'll be specific between multiplayer and Warzone and will likely differ in some capacity. But I'd imagine that they're going to be updating this and changing this in multiplayer and Warzone alike. Outside of that, it's just more of meta trends. Usually they end up doing, some standard stuff. The Supri and the FJX Horus in the close range are kind of standing out right now. Wouldn't be too surprised if we ended up seeing some slight nerfs to those. Although I personally, and I think a lot of you would agree with this as well, would like to see buffs to other options to make them more in line with things like the Supri or the Horus in terms of movement speed, general TTK, things like that. Because I think overall we should be seeing more buffs than nerfs, which is why, in the long range, of course, outside of the Kar 98K being adjusted, obviously, I'd love to see maybe some other sniper options introduced so that, hey, maybe the sniping meta is actually there and it's noticeable, but it's not just one gun every single time you're getting sniped, right? Maybe the cat and the Moors become a bit more competitive and speedier to keep up with the car, or other marksmans have one-shot properties introduced into them, or we see more buffs to rifles and LMGs to actually counter more long-range play that's pretty sniper dominant, right? I think there's a lot of options for actually buffing weapons across the board, close range and long range, that would make the meta more competitive and not destroy weapons that players are currently having a lot of fun with. But yes, we are going to see plenty of changes specific to multiplayer for weapons. Long range, close range, everything in between. Same deal for Warzone, but then also fundamental changes across the board that'll impact weapons in multiplayer and Warzone alike. So some specific changes, some universal changes. The one that we do have guaranteed though is of course those car nerfs. And we'll have the full details on all the weapon changes, all the meta updates, everything like that on Wednesday when the patch notes drop, and you guys already know I'm gonna be covering those right as they do go live. So stay tuned for that alongside everything else going on in COD by of course hitting that subscribe button and turning on those post notifications. And if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and drop a like on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.